not exactly hidden. The swim up to the dome is nearly flawless, with both Andrea and Roth helping Darechar put in even more speed as the rays give them a screen from several drones. A quick scramble later and it's applied with a huge amount of dirt and debris around it for camouflage. Then Darechar nods. "All right, do you two know the Deep's meditation?" "Of course," Andrea states. "It's basic. Just making sure. Get it working now. I'm teleporting us out." The meditation uses a microscopic amount of axiom, but a teleport is big. Roth warns him. Most are, but a woodwalk doesn't use the axiom here, as well as a huge amount of metaphysical bullshit to make it into one of the easiest teleportations in the galaxy. Darechar assures them. "Are you two ready to get out?" "What about the power line you sensed earlier?" Andrea asks. "That can be scouted later. For now, let's get out of Dodge. I don't like all these drones," Darechar says, and they nod. "Good point," Andrea says as she reaches out and grabs Darechar's shoulder. "I'm ready, Roth?" Her cousin grabs Darechar's other shoulder and he nods. "All right, get your meditation ready. I'm woodwalking in 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, all three of them are landing on top of a springy, bright red mushroom large enough that they all bounce a bit. All three maintain the Deep's mediation and slowly adjust to the outside pressure and avoid massive decompression damage. It takes a minute of all three of them slowly adjusting to being in air rather than deep sea pressure before anyone speaks. "Well, that was fun. Let's get our things and report in. After you get to medical. I saw you get cut by that snapping eel and your father has a reputation for vengeance," Andrea says. "Yes, Mom." Darechar grumps and both women look at him. "You're a teenager, not a toddler. Act with some maturity," Andrea says, and Roth outright snorts at that. "Really? From you? Miss Airbike Girl?" Roth asks as she stretches a bit. "Hey, I've pushed past that phase a while ago." Andrea protests a bit. "Right, well, anyways, here's our stuff. Let's get warped to the chainbreaker and take it from there," Darechar says with a huff as he warps a trinity of bins to them. They had been left in the forest so that Darechar could summon them immediately after they surfaced. Neither of the women are shy at all about their bodies, and Darechar can't stop staring as they strip out of the simple, low-profile clothing and quickly dress up in their preferred vinyl and tight leather. Then they both catch him staring, and there's giggling between the cousins. Darechar just looks away embarrassed and quickly dresses himself fully. The bright forest, however, took the time of his distraction to put a sterile mushroom growth over his cut and sealed it to help the healing. He can't help but smile and pats the fungal bandage that has grown over him. The forests, be they dark or bright, are truly benign. It really helps him find his bearings. He hadn't been totally sure of being a sorcerer at first, but the sense of sheer belonging that it gave to him was invaluable beyond any amount of power. The loose pants, sandals, and hoodie are a good and warm setup that gets the wind off him, and he shakes out the last little bit of water that's keeping his hair in the soaked range, and it becomes merely wet. Stick to more water-resistant clothing, kid. It's Amphibian 101. Roth notes and Darechar shrugs. "I'm primarily terrestrial. I like the water and can thrive in it, but most of my time is dry," Darechar says, and there's some shaking of the head and seeming disappointment from the two women. "Ah well, fun while it lasted short stuff," Roth remarks before flicking a device on her belt. "Let's go home." She's warped back onto the chainbreaker, and Andrea offers Darechar a nod before doing the same. He's supposed to follow them, but he takes a moment to think. Were they flirting or being friendly? He asks himself. I mean, I don't know. Then he's gone in a woodwalk, or perhaps a spore step as it's to a mushroom patch on the chainbreaker. All right, with us beginning to scout out and get an outline of the area that the operation seemed to be taking place in, we have another major thing we need to figure out. Pukey begins. That is the identities of Miss Red, Miss Pink, Miss White, Miss Green, Miss Blue, and Miss Yellow. We know Miss Purple is Val Ricarth, but we can't assume that her publicly known business partners and friends are the others. Which is why you want us to be working with the local police cybercrime division, Litha says, and Pukey nods. Why is it that the barely legal station I was raised on has less darkness than a place that is not only completely legal but well regarded? Too much money can bring the worst out of people, and many criminals are too short-sighted to be good at making money, so their worst impulses can't be indulged the way the amoral and wealthy indulge theirs, Pukey states, before smirking. On the upside, when we raid their supplies to render them powerless, there's going to be a lot for us. A lot we can redirect into whatever we want. Like compensating the families brutalized by a child trafficking ring. Exactly. Pukey answers and she nods with a gentle smile, before she starts to look somewhat uncertain and then pulls him into a hug and wraps around him for comfort. There are children on the way, and we find things like this. Even back on Octarine Spin, it wasn't this dark and cruel. There are supposed to be limits, Litha says, and Pukey holds her back. You'd expect a synthetic woman to be cold to the touch, but no. She's warm, and he can feel her vibrate in such a way that suggests she's terrified. Our egg is formed and will be hatching soon, but I have nightmares when I defrag my memory. Nightmares of a sweet little serpent being dragged into darkness. That won't happen. I promise you, anyone that tries will be reduced to a smear on my fist, and anyone to keep trying after that example will be not only very dead, but their corpse launched into the nearest star, so the heat and radiation can burn away whatever weapons grade stupid infected them. He vows. My children will grow up safe and grow up strong. They will not be victims, even if I have to personally hunt down and execute every would-be victimizer. Dire threats of vengeance aren't exactly what I was looking for, Litha says in a mildly amused tone. Sometimes you get what you want, other times you get what you need, Pukey says. Feel a little better? A little, I don't know. When you're with Cindy, it just seems so fitting and well, and I want to be part of that, but, well, she's cut off by a gentle kiss. I'm sorry that you feel neglected. Would you like some time, just the two of us? I'm sure we can find something to get your every servo singing. He offers, running his hand up her side and knowing that the sensation feedback is nothing short of astounding for the synthetic serpent woman. The slight hexagonal panels that are backed by a smooth sheath is a feast for his own senses. It's so like scales, and unlike them at the same time he knows she's outright shivering from the slow movement. She has very particular likes, and tracing the hexagons is a big one for her. Litha shivers again before her tongue flicker out. Oh dear. I mean, we should wait. There's work to be done, and getting distracted will just... I understand, he says. I'll speak with Cindy. Tell her you need some more time with me. Then after we're done putting the wretched and disgusting right where they belong, you and I can find a nice little place and spend some proper quality time together. I'd like that. She answers, nuzzling up to him. At this point, Bite can't help it and coughs into his fist. Pukey flips him off with the prosthetic arm, and the communications officer just rolls his eyes. Still, the slight noise had reminded the priestly hacker that, yes, there was someone else in the room beyond the man she loved. Oh dear, I'm so sorry for... Save it. I get that the girls of the galaxy go gaga for guys. It's not a surprise. Still, you and I are going to be picking up Scaly and getting him and the rest of the group to the Central Police Headquarters and working with their best hackers. We do have some names to find after all. Not to mention I have to finish sorting out Miss Kemka's arrangements for staying on the Chainbreaker. A willing bounty is best kept willing with, at the very least, a comfortable room. Pukey says, Come on, big girl. There's going to be plenty of time later to get practice for making your second egg. Bike teases, and the enormous synthetic Nagasha buries her face in her hands. Do you have to put it that way? As long as it's still funny, yes, Bike remarks, and then dodges the extending punch from Pukey and smirks as his captain is forced to retract it along its grapple line. Then it twists while moving and he gets a slap in the upper chest. Hey, just remember you argued for a magnetic rail to be incorporated. Pukey remarks and Bike chuckles. You still would have missed. Bike returns and Pukey scoffs at that. Anyways, Captain, I'm heading off now. Don't worry, I won't let your girl come to harm. Thank you, just remember that I'm just a call away and I've got multiple ports on this arm for heavy ordnance. Pukey remarks and Bike reaches into a pocket and in a single smooth movement slings a plasma cannon over his shoulder. So do I, but I appreciate the offer, Captain, Bike says, before twirling the large weapon and stashing it away again. All right, I'll give Scaly a call. He hasn't hit any distress beacons so far, so this will just be something that increases his own skill as a hacker. Still don't like him in the field, huh? Bike asks. Of course not, Litha states. He's a child. He's also already been through so much. I understand letting him have some autonomy is important and prevents him from growing resentful, but it's still very, very dangerous. Which is why he only goes anywhere with backup and equipment. Those cloaked drones of his have enough firepower to take out anything shy of power armor. And if he finds himself facing that, he still has his escape beacon, which only happens if J3 or the others don't rip apart whatever tries to threaten him first. He's safe. I hope so. He's just so... Litha pauses before soldiering on. I want to just coil around him and keep him safe from everything, even if that'll be the worst thing I could do. He needs to be brave and strong to really be safe, but I just want to do it all myself. Believe me, the instinct was a lot stronger when we first found him. There's a reason he ended up adopted, Pukey says. I'll go get him and drive him over personally. He'll be fine. I know it's just, Litha says before clasping her hands together. Well, you already know what I think. It's not like anyone actually disagrees with me. No, we don't, Pukey assures her and she nods. Still, he should be fine. Last thing he sent us, he was speaking to another person on vacation, and he was with the group, so hopefully the topic hasn't taken too big a turn for the strange. So, from what we can tell, that tree is now fully incorporated into this bright forest of yours, Alranath says. It was very fascinating to see the fungal structures allow themselves to be broken down and absorbed by the roots of the tropical tree. The slow spread upwards and inwards into the leaves through the trunk and through the vital saps and into the leaves of the tree, where it then quickly subverted the entire plant. Or perhaps incorporated, as you claim, that the tree now has a form of awareness and cognition of its immediate surroundings. I'm not certain where in this axiom construct that part is, but this is fascinating nonetheless. Can we do something else now? We just spent hours watching a tree slowly start to glow, Maggie Kemka asks in a somewhat frustrated tone. A little boring for you? Morg Arkin asks with an impish grin. She's not the only one, Jade complains. And you Slithern? Morg Arkin asks. He gets no answer. Hey, Slithern! The Nagasha backs up a little as fingers are waved in his face and he reaches up to remove earbuds. Loud and heavy music pours out of the tiny speakers. What? Never mind, Morg Arkin states.